guys, it's a big Elite 11 quote week. Apparently, Ryan Puglisi and Dylan Raiola very excited for their Georgia future, but they're locked in on this competition with some really other talented dudes in this Elite 11 finals competition.
Yeah, I really liked actually what I heard from Ryan Puglisi today when you compared it to a lot of the guys that they spoke to. All these guys were saying, I'm built for it. I'm ready for the bright lights. Ryan Puglisi said, I'm going to go out here and do my best. I mean, like that was like there's no like pretense with the kid. He's just like I tell people all the time, cool as a cucumber, man.
Oh,
just
man.
really just
guys. Did y'all see the ad up there in the top right of the screen? American Express. They're listening to us. All right, sorry, go ahead.
But no, I love this stuff from Puglisi, and I encourage people to get over to DawgsHQ and check out the piece I did with Charles Power and what he was looking for both of these guys. I think that it's really insightful as to where these guys stand right now skill wise and what they can do to take it to the next level. Had some glowing things to say about each of them, but also there's some questions about each. And I think that, Charles is one of the best in the game when it comes to evaluations. So I'm really interested to hear his thoughts post Elite 11 as well, because Georgia got a couple of really, really good ones in this class and representing out there in a big way in what's a really good group and a wide open group. Charles said, this is one where a lot of people can still seize that number one quarterback spot. It's not a slam dunk for Raiola. People want to, obviously Georgia fans want to see him finish there, but, they're looking for what he's going to do in this setting. And then over the course of his senior year is big as well.
Yeah, there's no one like Charles Power, dude. His brain is just wired for this in a way that not many brains are. I don't understand it, but that's what the Lord made him to do, I believe. Guys, some big recruiting news since we all met last. And Rusty and Jake Rowe, y'all did a great job picking up that instant news on the D-line for the Dogs in 2024.
Yeah, Jordan Thomas, young man at Don Bosco. And I think, a guy that we had on with Bark After Dark, Matt Godwin, former director of player personnel. And, little things. He texted me yesterday and said, or the day before, and said, hey, listen, I had Kirby had time for one guy to sit with him at a basketball game in January. And Kirby said, tell me who. And he said, Jordan Thomas. And he goes, okay. So, the 30 minutes that Kirby Smart sat with that young man before he had to leave that building, that I'm not saying that did everything for that, but certainly those types of decisions and to understand how valuable that player is in early January is why you get someone like that on January the 13th or June the 13th. But I'm telling you, man, there's only so many of these guys. And Roosh, I can't say what Roosh texted me, but he basically said, blankety blank 325. And I said, yes, he's not 267 as his profile said. So, and he carries it well. He's 6'5.5". And, Jake Rowe, that's his game to watch tape. And you see a big man like that running down a screen and you see what he can do inside, making moves, winning one-on-one. That's just another huge, huge win for Georgia, Trey Scott and Fran Brown.
My favorite part of that clip right there, that first one, yeah, the effort was great, but when he just goes full-blown pterodactyl right before making the tackle, and you just see the arms spread way out and them wrap around him, and he wraps him up and picks his own nose at the same time. I mean, that's unreal. He's so long. Big kid, man, and he can. One of the things that Rusty and I covered, and I keep harping on this cat can wear a lot of hats. He's a rich man. He's got the potential to be a rich man Zion Logue in that regard because he can play the 4-eye. He can play 3 technique. He can play over the nose. He can do a lot of different things for you, line up it, on the tackle and inside. So I love that about him, and I think that's the kind of guy Georgia needs in a class where it wants to bring in maybe 5 guys.
And don't forget, too, this is a guy who was practicing just a year ago against Chase Bisantis, who went to Texas A&M and who Georgia really coveted in that last class. Really liked that kid. So he's going against some real talent up there. I know people like to knock on the Northeast a little bit. Don Bosco is one of those programs to play anybody anywhere.
And they do. And they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he looks mean. And what did Godwin confirm? That Georgia, Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, all those elite coaches, they look for wide rear ends when they recruit these guys. And he looks like he was ready to fit in on that Giants turf in that clip we saw a minute ago. He's a big dude, no doubt about it.
No, I love the pickup for Georgia. I think that Jordan Thomas, a great one in this class. And listen, South Carolina wanted this kid, Penn State, Michigan. I mean, there were a lot of top schools that were in for this guy and pressing heavily. And Georgia brings him in. And shout out to Fran Brown, man. Just turning out to be an absolute ace for Georgia across the board. I mean, you lock up Ellis Robinson. Yeah, sure. No big deal. What do you need me to go do? Dip into the Northeast, go back home and pick you up a D tackle too? Yeah, I can do that as well. So just a killer recruiter and a guy who's proven his worth in a big way for Georgia.
Yeah, don't get caught up. One of my buddies texted me and said, "Oh, glad we beat out Rutgers for this guy. Look at the teams that have offered him, though.
No.
he was never going to Rutgers.
Yep.
He drove by Rutgers on the way to the airport to go visit places.
Any other recruiting loose ends y'all want to tie up? Rusty and I are going to have some things tomorrow later on in the week, but it's been a big week for schedule talk, obviously, and Georgia just keeps humming along with these commitments. It's really something to watch.
Yeah, and you saw a tweet out tonight from Makai Borio, I believe is how we're saying his last name. He's a big guy out of Creekside down there in Fairburn. A lot of guys have come out of there over the years and said, hey, look, I'm not going to Michigan this weekend. I'm going to be at the University of Georgia, and I'm going to commit on Monday. Now, does that mean slam dunk for Georgia? I don't know. I'm just saying that's not a bad sign.
So I was at Georgia Tech today for the Corky Kell 7-on-7. And Creekside was there. So I asked the coach about him. I said, what's the deal? And he goes, I'll tell you this, you better watch Michigan. And I said, okay. And he said Jim Harbaugh came, is heavily on him. Michigan's on him hard. Florida, he goes, if Georgia really wants him, they might be hard to beat. And then I get home and lo and behold, he's got a tweet out. So this guy is 6'5", and I'm not going to get into his personal business, but he is north of 370. So that is a 1 percentile human. And, the guys you see, the Jordan Thomases and those guys that can play, and the Justin Greens and those type of guys that can play outside, they can move around, where they got to have a big anchor in the middle with that crowd to kind of create those one-on-ones for them. So you look at a guy like this. I saw him play for Creekside. He started his high school at Lovejoy. Georgia offered as a freshman. George was on him a little while, kind of backed off a little bit because he gained some weight, but he showed last year at Creekside he can play like that. He's a disruptor, and then obviously he needs to lose some weight, and he will in college. But there's
me too, buddy. Me too.
You'd be a great anchor too there in the inside. I just don't know if you're
get rolled over, dude.
I think I'll tell you this too, and I mentioned it on the last show about Del McGee. Trey Scott heard the slander, buddy. Trey Scott came into June and said, "All right, let's go. You want to go? Let's go."
I tell you what I love about that big nose tackle kid. His last name sounds like a breed of mastiff. It sounds like a certain breed of a mastiff, of a bulldog of some sort, a Borio bulldog or something.
Yeah,
a Borio.
Yeah.
No,
somebody who there's been no slander about in Glenn Schumann. Got a target that's announcing his commitment tomorrow. But Joseph Phillips between Auburn, Clemson, Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas A&M.
Between Georgia and Auburn, in my opinion, it's not nobody else really in that thing, and that one's going to come down to the wire, I think.
Yeah,
visited both those schools 3 times. He's taken his official visit to UGA.
I think Georgia had a lot of momentum here, but let me phrase this: he is from Tuskegee, Alabama, which is about 25 minutes from Auburn. And right now for me, as we take this on Wednesday night, I would have to probably say Auburn, and that's kind of to where I made the point on our message board to do the RPMs. If I would have done RPM on him, our recruiting prediction machine on 3 for the last 10 days, it probably would have been Georgia. But these things aren't over. So don't people get too bent out of shape with this right now. I would say Auburn has a lot of momentum on this deal and could very well end up at Auburn. But, Glenn Schumann is not going to win every one of those battles. And let's be honest, people are walking into the living rooms on these OVs and saying they just got Raylan Wilson, Troy Bowles, and CJ Allen. You know what I mean? And, they got other guys in front of them. So they're battling that depth chart stuff with that. And I feel confident Georgia – they're trying to hold on to DeMarcus Riddick and see if that happens. But I feel confident at the end of the day, Georgia will at least sign 2 inside backers for this class. But it's going to be interesting. They're going to have 2 more guys in town this weekend. We will have an update on the OV visit list probably no later than Thursday evening for this weekend. But they will have 2 guys at that position this weekend. So we'll see what happens. So we should know tomorrow on Phillips.
Joseph Phillips.
Yep. Yep.
And I'll say this too about the Auburn thing with Phillips here. I think I'm sorry. Justin Williams is who we were talking about as well. Justin Williams. Yep. Joseph Phillips is. I think it's fair to say that he is a bigger need for Auburn than he is for Georgia, and they're able. Not only are they close to home, but they need to win a battle like that close to home. That's the kind of thing that they have to do to kind of get back on the right track and be who Auburn wants to be. And so I think that it does mean probably more to the Tigers in that race. Georgia's going to be okay without him if it ends up going that way. But I'm not saying they don't want him by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think that it's the case that Auburn probably needs him more than Georgia does.
Need is certainly a big word to use for Georgia and an inside linebacker,
right?
Because they've got, we talked about it earlier, talking about what they might lose this year with Jamon Dumas Johnson and Smile Munden. There's plenty behind them too.
Yeah.
William Phillips asks, "Is this going to be the fastest team under Kirby, both offense and defense?" Rusty, I've heard you say this is. If you're going to sum up this team right now from what you've seen and heard, athletic is the first word that comes to mind. Is it the fastest, though?
Man, they are. I don't know if you can line them up like 40 times, and who knows. The best read at Georgia, if I could get that information, which I can't, would be those GPS readings. Where are they at with those guys daily with those vests on. But I will tell you this, with the addition of Dominic Lovett, Ladd McConkey coming back, being healthy, Arian Smith healthy. You look at the guys they've got now in the secondary they've added, and some of these guys, they are explosive, man. They are very explosive on offense. And, running back right now is a concern. But if you want to talk about outside the edge and what Georgia is at wide receiver, they've got some guys that's going to give some defensive coordinators headaches because I'm excited to see Ladd McConkey and Dominic Lovett in the same package because both of them they're just jitterbugs and they got ball skills and they're just hard to cover. And, so I think with Georgia, I don't know if they're the fastest on paper 40-wise, but I'm confident in saying this will be the most explosive especially offensive group of skill set that they're going to bring to the table this year.
Game speed. Rusty, your guy Drew Miller is taking a visit this weekend. Big punter, official visit here. And then Georgia's got a hard Florida commit, Xavier Phil Same. How do I say that?
Yeah, Phil Same, I believe, is correct.
Yep. Hey, look, Dogs had a pretty good time with the Florida Gator commit last weekend.
I'm circling that Aiden Breland visit as the big one. Yes. This is the one Georgia. They not only did they covet that guy, he's real deal. And I mean, that's the one that you really want to knock out of the park this week. And they've got some, in my opinion, I think they've had some good momentum with him too. He's visited several times. He's kind of gone out of his way. Del McGee's been out there seeing Nate Frazier, so they've spent some time out there as well. I mean, there's a lot working in Georgia's favor. You know, Oregon, I see them in there. That's going to be a compelling option for him too. Miami's going to be in it for anybody they want to be at this point as well. But Georgia and Breland definitely has my interest peaked.
That dude's neck is like a railroad tie, dude.
Dude, hold on, Wes, scroll down. Go find go to the stories of this kid. There's photos of him that make him look like he is. I mean, yeah, that one, the second one. Yeah, wraps up his look at this cat.
Yeah,
that's a full-grown murder hornet.
That's a grown man. That is not there. That kid is not in high school. That guy works at a rail yard. And
Uncle Aiden, baby. Uncle Aiden.
We are way off topic right here.
That guy is built different, man.
If all of us walked into a store with him, we'd be the only 5 carded.
Absolutely, no question. Yes.
Can you go back, Wes, and pull up? Can you pull up Nair Daniels, the offensive tackle, on the visit list for this weekend? I believe he's on there. I want you to look at the size of this young man. I think this is the one for the weekend I'm watching on that side.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back. Sorry.
It's okay. I think he is 6'8", probably, and he's another
New Jersey.
He's another New Jersey kid, and Stacey Searles has been up there twice to see him, and Fran Brown's involved in this one. And really, when you look at this one, Jaden Riddell was actually there last weekend, and we'll fix that. But you look at Nair Daniels.
I just went in and changed it.
What we got listed? So we list him at 6'7.5", 371. So again, when I start talking about 1 percentile humans, and he's from New Jersey. And you look at this thing, Penn State. Interesting here, Georgia will have him this weekend, and he goes to Texas next weekend. I talked to Jerry Hamilton of our Inside Texas site this morning. We talked about a little bit with him. So this is a guy for me. There's only so many of these kind of tackles around, and if Georgia were able to get him this weekend and get him locked in for this class, that would be literally a massive piece.
Yeah, huge.
Got a comment here about not wanting to talk about top receivers. I don't think that's a sore subject in the 2023 class or 2024 for Georgia.
No, I mean, you got Amari Jefferson coming into OV this weekend. And look, I say what you want about the guys ranking. Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia are absolutely slugging this one out, man. So don't think for a second that kid's, toast out here. I mean, you've got, in my opinion, I think Georgia's sitting fine at wide receiver right now, and I think they'd like to add another one. So I'm interested to see how they do it. But yeah, I mean, are we talking 5-star guys? Because at this moment, I don't feel great about any of those right at this moment.
No, and listen, Lad McConkey, would Georgia take anybody for him? I mean, right. You know what I mean? And this day and age, what did Georgia need this year? They needed wide receivers. They lost A.D. Mitchell. What did they get? They went out and got Ra Thomas and Dominic Lovett. So the portal is important. It's not life or death. I mean, obviously you want to build within your own program, but Georgia's attractive. And with these quarterbacks, whoever gets this job and whoever plays, they're going to know that they're going to be confident Georgia's going to have a quarterback room, and that's important. So I know Brian McClendon's on some guys. I think this wide receiver class as a whole is down a little bit, so it drives, the tension up on some of these guys that are left. But I think right now, Dylan Bell is a guy. Listen, Dylan Bell, and I'll tell you this. Matt Godwin told me, who's a great source, that Todd Monken stood on the table, and he worked him out himself. And Todd Monken has a wide receiver background, oh, by the way, too. And he was the one that told Kirby Smart, we need to sign Dylan Bell. So tuck that one away here in a couple of years, because Dylan Bell, some of the summer buzz on him too, and he wasn't a 4-star everyday guy. So you just don't get into panic mode about wide receivers right now. I'm pretty confident Georgia's got some depth and some really good players if they can keep those guys healthy.